Let's begin the Professional Standards Training presentation. So our goal with these standards is to ensure that school nutrition professionals, this includes directors, managers, and food service personnel, all have the most current knowledge and skills to manage and operate the NSLP and SBP successfully. The USDA has established 3 categories of professional standards. Minimum education standards for hiring school nutrition directors, training standards for all school nutrition professionals, and standards for maintaining documentation, specifically tracking the number of training hours earned each year. We'll begin with hiring standards. These hiring standards for school nutrition program directors can be found on the Professional Standards for School Nutrition Program Professionals flyer. These hiring standards are minimum education requirements and are based on student enrollment. Please be mindful that these apply to nutrition program directors hired after July 1st, 2015. To clarify, a school nutrition program director is someone who works for the school food authority who is responsible for the operation of school nutrition programs. This person cannot be the food service management company director or manager. The final rule finalized the proposal to allow state agency discretion to allow medium or large LEAs to hire an individual without a bachelor's or associate's degree as a school nutrition program director in the case that they have at least 10 years of school nutrition program experience, and this was implemented starting July 1st, 2024. Training requirements. Upon hiring, at least 8 hours of food safety training is required, either not more than 5 years prior to their starting date or completed within 30 calendar days of the employee's start date. This is not a ServSafe certification, just general food safety training. A reminder that this is a one-time requirement upon hiring. Again, pulling from the Professional Standards flyer, annual training requirements include, for directors, at least 12 hours of annual CE or training is required, not including the 8 hours of food safety discussed in the previous slide. If your LEA has a manager, at least 10 hours of annual training is required. All other staff working 20 or more hours a week need 6 hours, and part-time staff need at least 4 hours of annual training. This is for all size LEAs. We are looking for school nutrition program directors to maintain records as evidence of compliance with annual training requirements. Please maintain supporting documentation, including a training agenda, sign-in sheets, and certificates of completion when possible for 3 years plus the current year. We also want you to track training hours for employees using something like the USDA training tracker tool or a spreadsheet. Another form of documentation is also allowed. The training tracker contents, whether it's a spreadsheet or an alternate form of documentation, should include the employee name, their hiring date, their position, the required hours of training based on the previous slide, training title and subject, training date, length of training, and completed training hours to date. Here is an example of the USDA's training tracker tool, if you'd prefer to use that. As you can see, it captures the same information as the spreadsheet. The advantage to using this tool, in my opinion, is that the training status reminder is always available, and it specifies how many employees have still not completed their annual training requirements, how many hours are needed, and whether they have done the mandatory training. I have included a link to this tool at the end of my presentation. Finally, I would like to direct you to where you can find trainings. On our site, specifically under NSLP, you can see a list of recorded and upcoming webinar trainings. I highlighted civil rights training because this is a mandatory annual training for all job categories that count towards the annual training hours. There are other sources for trainings on the school nutrition programs offered by the USDA and by food service management companies. We ask that the trainings taken are applicable to the role and tasks of the employee taking said training. So if you click on the link here, that's hyperlinked trainings, it'll take you to the Institute of Child Nutrition. And if you click on this I Learn button, it'll take you to a page with many recorded webinars around a plethora of child nutrition program topics. There are food safety trainings, civil rights trainings, trainings on meal patterns, on creating production records. Focus on the trainings that are applicable to the task of the employee's specific role in the child nutrition programs. So by USDA federal regulation, any local educational agency participating in the National School Lunch Program must develop and implement a local wellness policy. A local school wellness policy is a written document that guides the efforts of a local education agency, or LEA, to create supportive school nutrition and physical activity environments to enhance health and learning outcomes for students. There are specific items required to be referenced under federal and state law within this policy. A school official or wellness leader responsible for overseeing the wellness policy needs to be noted in the policy with their job title. A wellness policy must be assessed and updated at least once every 3 years. And schools are encouraged to develop student advisory boards where students can become involved in sharing their opinions and implementing policy that's important to their interests. For example, decreasing food waste in the cafeteria or menu development for more culturally relevant foods. When it's time for RIE to conduct an administrative review of the school nutrition programs at your SFA, we'll be requesting a copy of the current local school wellness policy. Documentation demonstrating the school wellness policy has been made available to the public. Documentation of the district's efforts to review and update the school wellness policy, including an indication of who's involved in the update and methods the district uses to make stakeholders aware of their availability to participate. We do encourage that the community is very aware about their ability to participate in the creation and editing of the school wellness policy through a website notification discussed in the civil rights training, as well as a copy of the district's most recent assessment on the implementation of the school wellness policy. We do have a full wellness policy training up on our website with the information for creating one, and I've linked that in the resources on the next page. Here are the links to the resources referenced earlier in this training. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this training. If you do have any questions or comments, please use the next slide to contact either myself, Amna Farhat, or someone else on the Child Nutrition Program team so that we can help answer your questions. Thank you.